16 years ago on February 15, 2009, Front Row Motorsports began their journey in the NASCAR Cup Series as a full-time entry after years of struggling to make races. And over the next decade and a half, the team slowly and meticulously worked their way from a start and park Cup team all the way to on top of the NASCAR world as Daytona 500 champions, to now one of the most youngest and up-and-coming teams in the Cup Series garage. But all this started with one man, a dream, and a bunch of fast food restaurants. Bob Jenkins entered NASCAR in the mid-2000s, with the hopes of becoming a team owner of a top NASCAR organization. Backed by his over 200 restaurant locations of many fast food franchises, including Taco Bell, A&W, KFC, and Long John Silver's, Jenkins would have the sponsorship needed to field a car. However, his first few seasons as a team owner could be summed up as a disaster, as Jenkins employed many drivers over the years, ranging from skilled veterans and champions like Bill Elliott, to drivers you might not have ever heard of, like Brian Samo. Front Row Motorsports would struggle to make the races week in and week out throughout the late 2000s. However, after the 2008 financial crisis, and NASCAR entry list sizes dwindling from it, it presented an opportunity for them to be able to make every race, which they immediately took, teaming up with the downward falling Earnhardt Ganassi Racing and taking the 15 cars owner points from 2008, allowing the team to make each of the season's first 5 races. Owner Bob Jenkins would re-sign John Andretti from the year prior to pilot the 34 for the entire schedule.
John Andretti.
And with that, Andretti was sponsored by Window World for the first 5 races of their season. However, over the next 31, the car was sponsored by one of Bob Jenkins' fast food restaurants for 27 of them. As expected, the 34 car struggled throughout 2009, finishing in the top 20 just 2 times out of the 36 races, with a 16th at New Hampshire and a 19th in the Daytona 500, while on the flip side their second entry of the 37 also struggled in their role as a part-time car, as the entry racked up 6 last place finishes in just 15 races. 2010 saw them briefly expand to a 3-car operation for the season, while also solidifying themselves as a Ford team instead of running multiple manufacturers throughout the year, as Roush Fenway started giving them some equipment to use. Yet unlike most teams, the drivers routinely swapped their car numbers throughout the season, with Travis Quaffle, Kevin Conway, and David Gilliland mainly piloting their 34, 37, and 38 car entries throughout the season. And again, the team continued to struggle in the trenches as a backmarker team, collecting only a best finish of 14th across the entire schedule for all 3 teams. But on the bright side for them, rookie driver Kevin Conway took home Rookie of the Year honors at the end of the year, with a 35th place points finish. In 2011, for the first time in team history, a driver and team ran the full 36 races with each other, seeing David Gilliland drive the 34 entry, and it paid off well, kicking off the season by collecting their best ever NASCAR finish with a 3rd place run in the sport's biggest race.
Room underneath. Now he pushes Trevor Bayne.
It's over.
Cinderella
Bayne is going to win the Daytona 500.
At the next superspeedway in Talladega, the team repeated the success with a 9th place run, eventually rounding out the year 30th in the standings, their highest mark for a driver yet. For 2012, Bob Jenkins signed his first ever big free agent, bringing on the former Roush prospect of David Reagan from the team to drive their 34 car, moving David Gilliland over to the 38. However, the driver saw minimal gains compared to the year prior, only slightly improving his average finish while posting the same amount of top 25s at 11. On the other side of the team, the signee David Reagan mainly brought his superspeedway skills to the team as his best asset, with his 1 Cup win and half of his Xfinity Series wins belonging at superspeedways, as well as losing out on the Daytona 500 the year prior, only due to a penalty for changing lanes before the finish line as the leader. Reagan did exactly what was expected for him throughout the year, capturing 2 top 10s, each coming at superspeedways, including a 4th place run in the fall Talladega race after driving to the line with heavy damage after being involved in the last lap huge one. These impressive superspeedway runs carried over to the next time that David Reagan went to Talladega on May 5, 2013, when amid the chaos of the large crashes and the rain delays that forced the race to end at dusk, a remarkable underdog story unfolded that changed Front Row Motorsports forever.
Here they come to the white flag. 1 lap to go.
And it's a race from here on, no matter what happens.
Johnson looked high. Kenseth to draft with Edwards. Johnson to the bottom. Almirola to the top.
Man, Matt got shuffled out again.
Jimmy Johnson with Carl Edwards, but Kenseth up the middle, coming back. Help from David Reagan, up to the bumper of Carl Edwards. Reagan in the middle. His teammate Gilliland is the pusher. They're right on the bumper of Edwards. Is there anywhere to go? Reagan in the bottom. Gilliland with him. Reagan, July winner at Daytona a couple of years ago. Gilliland with him. Edwards up top. Michael Waltrip to help. And here they come off turn 4.
Push, boys, push! Push hard!
Edwards high. Reagan comes up. Caught on the spot.
Gilliland's got it! He's got it!
Front row racing is in the victory lane at Talladega. Reagan first. Gilliland second. How about that?
Oh, yeah, baby, yeah! What an unbelievable run there.
Not a first-time winner, but a first-time Talladega winner. Look at those teammates.
No, but this team!
The 1-2 finish marked the first win, along with the first second place for the team, and propelled David Gilliland into posting his best career season, beating his time with Robert Yates Racing by putting up his best ever points finish and matching his lowest average finish. However, the next season in 2014, both he and Reagan regressed heavily from the year prior, as each posted worse average finishes and points finishes, while also posting less top 25s from 2013. This was Front Row Motorsports' first time declining year over year, and in response the team brought back a third full-time entry, this time being the 35 Ford for Cole Witt. Continuing in the 38 was David Gilliland, with sponsor Love's Travel Stop increasing the amount of races seen on the car, rising up to 16 from 12 in 2014. However, this season served as Gilliland's last full-time season, choosing to focus on team ownership with his own organization, and the choice was probably made at the right time, with Gilliland again seeing regression from the year prior, posting his worst season since joining Front Row Motorsports. Reagan also returned in 2015, however after the Daytona 500, he temporarily left the team to drive for Joe Gibbs Racing in the flagship number 18 car, replacing Kyle Busch after he suffered a leg injury in the 2015 Xfinity Series season opener in Daytona. Still, Reagan was scheduled to return to the 34 when Busch returned to the series, however after Brian Vickers was sidelined for the entirety of the 2015 season, Reagan took the opportunity to run with Michael Waltrip Racing for the season, replacing Vickers. In the wake of Reagan playing Super Sub, Front Row Motorsports hired drivers such as Joe Nemechek, Chris Buescher, Josh Wise, Justin Marks, and mainly Brett Moffitt to replace Reagan in the 34, with Moffitt going on to take home Rookie of the Year honors at the end of the season, despite not running the full year. This season was when Front Row took another step towards where they are today, because starting in this year they began receiving technical support from Ford, a major improvement over receiving limited data from Ford, which is what they had been getting since they joined the manufacturer in 2010. With Gilliland out the door at FRM, the team once again returned back to a two-car operation, featuring rookie Chris Buescher in the 34 and Landon Castle in the 38. And with the hiring of Buescher, during a foggy Pocono day on August 1st, 2016, the team received the luckiest gift you can ever earn in a NASCAR race.
First, the 4 of Kevin Harvick, when he blended back on the racetrack, was in a little bit of traffic. It doesn't take a lot. We've talked about how tricky this track is.
And race leader Chris Buescher leading his first laps, and take a look at this. The caution has come out. Fog has rolled in so badly in turns 1 and 2 that people can't see that straightaway. So the caution has come out. Chris Buescher is in front. So a lot of pictures will be taken documenting this win for not only Chris Buescher but Front Row Motors. Front Row Motorsports has won their second Cup Series race.
The win awarded Buescher a spot in the playoffs, which automatically meant he was guaranteed to a top 16 finish in the standings. And although he was swiftly eliminated from the playoffs after the first round, it still easily was the highest finish a Front Row Motorsports driver had ever posted for a season, seeing Buescher end his rookie campaign 16th in the final standings. Again, Front Row Motorsports went through a driver swap, seeing the return of the driver who got their very first win in David Reagan to pilot the 38 for the next 3 years until his retirement in 2019, while swapping Landon Castle over to the 34. With this change, Castle posted nearly identical seasons to the one before, putting up more top 25s, however his average finish declined, along with his points finish, while also DNFing in 5 more races from the year prior. Yet on the other side of the team, Reagan continued the steady rise of the 38 car. As compared to Landon Castle's season in the car, Reagan had the advantage. Front Row Motorsports once again brought in a new driver for the 34 car, but this time they hired the driver that eventually changed the entire trajectory of the team, in Michael McDowell. 2018 started out pretty average for the team's expectations, however year after year they continued to grow. as in 2019 McDowell matched the team's highest season top 5 total with 2, while also posting 2 top 10s, and eventually doubling his top 10 total in 2020 with 4. This was the year Front Row took the next step into almost what they are today, and it happened in the blink of an eye in the first race of the season. Michael McDowell entered the Daytona 500 with 100-to-1 odds to win the race, yet those odds drastically improved after he missed a massive crash that wiped out most of the contenders on lap 14 of the 200-lap race. Over the next 180 laps, McDowell methodically stayed on the draft and out of trouble, eventually finding himself in 4th after the field cycled out from their last set of green flag pit stops. With 2 to go, Brad Keselowski backed up to McDowell to set up a run, and the 2 charged past the 4 car of Kevin Harvick coming to the white flag to slot McDowell up to 3rd, leaving the 2 Penske teammates of Keselowski and Joey Logano ahead of him. But this wasn't just any set of teammates, as the 2 had been the greatest duo at superspeedways throughout the 2010s, seeing each of them capture a slew of wins. However, over the past few years, Keselowski had grown tired of Logano's aggressive plate racing style that often resulted in late blocks and crashes.
It's the same thing. Somebody throws a stupid block that's never going to work, wrecks half the field, and then goes,
And when you mix that with the fact that Keselowski had never won the biggest race NASCAR had to offer, what happened next after a late Joey Logano block on the white flag was to be expected.
Keselowski with him, McDowell in tow, Dillon on the bottom.
The runs on top. Oh! Teammates.
Around they go in a hard crash. Kyle Busch.
Larson.
And Michael McDowell from Glendale, Arizona, for Bob Jenkins' Front Row Motorsports, has won the Daytona 500. How about that?
Man.
McDowell would be thrust onto the top of the NASCAR world from this, and the momentum carried, capturing an 8th the next week at the Daytona Road Course and a 6th at Homestead. With this win, he was locked into the playoffs, yet like Buescher was also eliminated in the first round, finishing 16th in the final standings. Behind the scenes though, Front Row Motorsports as an organization had began making big moves around this time, seeing them start up a truck team to help them create a pipeline of drivers to the Cup Series for them. And the first driver up was Todd Gilliland, the former son of driver for the team David Gilliland. He drove the truck for 2 seasons with decent results, including a win at COTA in 2021, while narrowly missing out on a Final Four appearance after being dumped from the lead on the white flag at Martinsville. And with that, he was called up to the Cup Series to join Michael McDowell in 2022. With NASCAR's new next-gen car evening out the playing field for the teams, it helped the 38 car improve from the year prior when Anthony Alfredo was behind the wheel, besting his average finish by over 4 positions and improving on all counting stats. The car also helped Michael McDowell post his best season, and the most consistent from a Front Row Motorsports driver in their history, posting 2 top 5s and a whopping 12 top 10s, as well as an astounding 16.9 average finish. And when you compare the 34 car from 2012 to 2022, the steadiness of this improvement is shown, seeing McDowell drop the season-long average finish down over 10 positions from 2012, while also blowing every other stat out of the water. And along with that, Front Row won the Truck Series championship with first-year driver Zane Smith. The team spun it back with Gilliland and McDowell for 2023, with Gilliland besting his stats from his rookie year, by dropping his average finish and doubling his top 10s, while McDowell solidified Front Row as a future contender just before the playoffs, when he went out and dominated the Indy Road Course.
The 34 trying to outbreak Suarez for the lead.
Suarez got a battle on this inside now. Coming into this turn. Turn 12. Now into turn 13. McDowell's on the inside, has the preferred line and takes the spot away.
A heads-up race against Daniel Suarez and his team. They have the #1 pit stall because they won the pole. Suarez clearly better at the end of that run, but a long stop for the 99.
The final 3 turns. The gap is closed to a second. Through 14 for the final time. Michael McDowell comes onto the front stretch at Indy. The 38-year-old is going to win at Indianapolis.
For the first time in team history, they led the most laps in a NASCAR race, with McDowell leading 54 of the 82 laps, eventually wrapping up the season 15th in the standings, another best for the team. Front Row Motorsports left their Roush alliance this year to join an alliance with Penske, while also becoming a Tier 1 Ford team, allowing them to receive even more support from Ford throughout the season, immediately showing when Michael McDowell qualified on the outside pole of the Daytona 500, backing it up the following week by winning the pole, eventually seeing both drivers put up one of the best overall races in the team's history, combining to lead 58 of the 260 laps. Over the course of the season, McDowell went on to win 6 poles, yet also regressed in most of his stats, thanks to a disappointing 7 DNFs throughout the season. However, on May 8th, McDowell shocked everyone and announced he would leave Front Row at the end of the season to drive the 71 for Spire Motorsports in 2025. The 38 though continued its year-over-year improvement, posting an impressive 22nd place points finish, down 6 spots from the year prior, and even completing an impressive 700 more laps. In the wake of Stewart-Haas Racing shutting their doors and making 3 charters available, Bob Jenkins would purchase a charter after judge approval in the middle of their ongoing lawsuit with NASCAR, hiring 2022 Truck Series champion Zane Smith to drive the 38 car, while also putting Todd Gilliland in the 34, and poaching Noah Gragson from the Stewart-Haas Racing team to drive the newly numbered 4 car. With this, Front Row Motorsports is set to enter 2025 with one of the youngest teams in the Cup Series, featuring all 3 drivers under the age of 27, and along with this, the team is also starting to create an impressive pool of prospects, expanding their truck program to 2 trucks for Lane Riggs, who came alive in the 2024 playoffs despite missing it for the team, and Chandler Smith, who has been one of the most consistent and impressive Xfinity drivers over the past few seasons. And that concludes the Front Row Motorsports story as of now. From their humble beginnings as a small underdog team, to their unforgettable moments in NASCAR's biggest races. As they look into the future, the youth movement is in full effect for the team, but as of now, the sky's the limit for them,